national holiday. So most peeps are possibly sitting around their grills and enjoying the day off. But for me, there's no better place to be than right here with you talking about domain names. Domain names, and especially the development of domain names into businesses, which is very much what we talk about each week here on Domain to Profit, is taking a domain name, turning it into a business. And today, it was supposed to be a casual day. It was supposed to be me coming in, and we're just going to look through some expired domains and come up with business ideas. But then I really got interested in a tweet by Brian Knoll about geo-domains. He specifically was pointing out that Denver.com was being developed, and he was wondering, are there any good examples of city domains being developed into businesses other than tourist destinations specifically, is what he was looking for. So today we're going to, instead of being casual, just chilling, looking through expired domains, we're going to be taking on the big questions of two things. One, can a geodomain, how would a geodomain be developed in order to be a profitable business? And especially, while we do that, can it be done with a non-tourist destination domain name? I have an interest in this. This is something I've been looking into for quite some time because I own a couple smaller cities outside of Cincinnati, which is my hometown, Cincinnati, Ohio. And I own Sharonville.com, which is a city that I'm currently in, where our offices are located, as well as Coleraine.com, which is on the west side of Cincinnati. And I've looked into and been interested in turning those domain names into businesses. So this is something I've been looking into, thinking of prior to even Brian asking the question. But then what really put it over the edge, why I'm here to talk about geodomains specifically today, is the idea of, just this morning, I saw Domain Gang shared out on Twitter that LA, the two-character domain name, LA.com, is for sale for $5 million. Which, your reaction to LA.com being for $5 million depends on what you would do with it. If you're a domain investor, if you're somebody like me who's bought a lot of domain names and buys them and sometimes develops them, but also knows the value that a domain name can have, chances are you're like, $5 million, that's a deal. That's kind of where I'm like, $5 million, like, I need a rich uncle or somebody to help me get this domain. Or you could be like my buddy of ours who's watching my daughter right now, Christy, who when I told her LA.com $5 million, she's like, oh my dear goodness, people pay that much for domains? And the answer is yes. And today we're going to take on how we would make $5 million from LA.com, which of course does include some tourist stuff. So lots to take on today, all around geo-domains, location domains. So it's going to be an ambitious product, or an ambitious project, all on the fly, because this is all happening kind of as we go. Lots of stuff we're going to look at. This will be a great way to spend an hour on Labor Day learning about domain names, geo-domains. So stick with me. I'm Drew Walsh. This is Domain to Profit. Thanks for joining me.
Domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Walsh and get started right now.
All righty, and I did have some starting the stream issues where I saw Michael was on. I got Hotfix GH, which Hotfix, we got to get your name. He or she, or like, you know, I'd love to know who Hotfix is. But saw Michael, saw Chaz out there. Thanks for joining me as well. And here's, I guess I could share out Hotfix saying hi. And when today's stream specifically is very much a stream where I am flying by the seat of my pants. It may be obvious, hopefully not too obvious, but there's a lot that I want to figure out with you while we are live. A lot of things like, how would I go about justifying $5 million for LA.com? My gut says it's 5 million, but how would I go about the logic piece? Sure, the emotion side, which we all make our decisions primarily with emotion, the emotion says, yes, $5 million. But realistically, a banker or investor is going to be like, hey, we're not just going to hand over $5 million. We need to know the how. And then, of course, the question that we have going out to from Brian and such is, how about non-tourism domains? How can they be profitable business? Which I believe the answer is yes. But realistically, I don't want you to take my opinion. Let's look through the logic. Let's look through some of the different business possibilities that we can do with it and see if it meets your expectations for what a domain name, geo-domain name, city domain name would be as far as a profitable domain. So with that said, we are going to, first of all, I want to show out that Twitter thread. I'm going to go over to screens for the purpose of finding the thread that that we've been using. I had it up, but I had to do a restart right before I went live, and it threw things off a little bit. But I have sound, which sounds pretty important, I think. Okay, so here's the tweet that we have, and this is from Brian Knoll right on Twitter, and he was just asking, hey, I see Denver.com is now coming soon, and will focus on cannabis. Is there a City.com business model that has actually proven to be profitable? And I'm talking about non-tourist cities specifically is what he's looking for. We had David on a few weeks ago, and he's the owner of Palm Springs and Nashville.com, which they have been shown to be profitable businesses. However, he's looking specifically non-tourist cities. So we're going to forget about LA.com for a little bit, and we're going to kind of talk about like what are the obstacles that geo-domains have. And we'll continue to get on this thread. So let's see if we can come up with the questions that everybody's had out on Twitter and see if we can address them over the course of this broadcast. And here's David Costello there talking about Nashville and Palm Springs, West Palm Beach. And you can find all this if you're on Twitter. You'll see it out on my shared tweets. And I want to get to, and this is a very good question here. Hopefully you can see this by Elliot. How would you define profitable? This is one of the key questions I have as well for Brian and anyone who's interested in geodomains. And especially as we talk about LA.com, right? You got $5 million domain name. What is profitable? What is your ambition for the domain name? Are you out to become a billionaire off this project? Can we justify it from that standpoint? I would have trouble coming up with those numbers. Are you looking to, what I want to try to do with LA.com later on is I want to try to show you how and look at how we can generate $5 million a year using LA.com. That's what I'm out to figure out. Not just like $5 million once, but how can we generate $5 million a year using LA.com? But yeah, how do we define profit? And that's one of the questions I have for Brian as well as anyone else who I've seen out there kind of saying, geo-domains are dead. It's, well, what is dead? What does a domain name need to be generating in order to be profitable? I think that for most of us, if we have a domain name that generates, $100,000 a year, that's a good income for most people. So, is that dead? Is $100,000 a year good enough for like a Sharonville.com, which is just my little city domain that I've been interested in, looked into developing? Would $100,000 be good enough? Would it need to be 250,000? Would it need to be $1 million domain name? All of that's going to depend on your ambition, what you want your lifestyle to look like, as well as the enterprise. I'm not going to dive into all that stuff. I will tell you that for me, I want to run a small business, 12 or less people working on developing domain names, everything from sales, development, marketing, all of that, 12 or less people. And I don't care if we're a 10 billion a year company or like a couple million, like it doesn't matter as long as I can just have the lifestyle that I'm looking for. So it's a lifestyle business for me. So I define profitability for me, specifically having enough money to do what I want when I want, and the freedom and flexibility in my life to be able to do the same. Most people define their versions of profitability based on, just money in general. But most people I've found make a lot of money and then they're like, I need my time now. And then they start to use their money to try to get their time. I want my time over the course of my life. So let's keep going down this thread here. And I do welcome, let me just say this, I meant to mention this. As you have questions, if you're like, that Drew guy's full of crap, ask your question in the chat, especially over on YouTube. I will get it. And I want to try to overcome all the objections. Let's try, because I have a lot myself. I want to overcome them for you, for me, for my wife when I try to talk her into buying la.com for $5 million. Not happening, but I do need investors. Okay. So back to the thread, starting here because I want these questions. I want to see the concerns that people are bringing up. Domain name wire here is saying that that's Andrew over there. Lots of Andrews in domains. Okay. Andrew Rosner, Andrew here. So not that I've seen, they're saying that most of the domains, geo-domains, were killing it 10 to 15 years ago. But nowadays they're just not able to do it. So we'll look into that a little bit. There's some examples, more conversation. Then on mine, I kind of chime in and say, hey, you can absolutely run Denver.com or some kind of domain like that, generating easily $1 million a year. But realistically, they're wanting to make sure that it is non-tourist destination. And also, I would just want to add this. What I have found is these geo-domains, they require a lot more work than my other business model. So my typical business model would be taking an exactmatch.com domain name, like towing.com here, and then sharing it with towing companies. And that's one industry, one set of lingo, one industry, everything just kind of encompassed in that one topic. Well, what I'm kind of talking about here with Brian is when it comes down to location-based domains, it's no longer about a specific business niche or a specific industry. Now it's based on the location, and that location can encompass, hundreds of different types of businesses. So how do you use that geo-domain to be able to handle all those different businesses? We'll talk a little bit about that as we get going, because that's an important question. And what I mentioned there is the reason we haven't moved forward on our location domains is because essentially those location domains, they require a lot more work. They require not a lot more work as far as tech or even sales or marketing. They require you to have, tech actually. You have to know what those different niches that you're going to make money from, which we're going to talk a lot about the monetization of different aspects of a location, all the different businesses and ways you can make money. And the question is, will all those different areas that we can generate money from add up to being worth it, worth the expense of developing it, worth the expense of finding the customers? And then I typically have them muted, honestly, but Snoopy here doing what he does, which is being the antagonist, which is only the Castellos have done it. I say that's probably false. I'm guessing quite a few others have done it. The model is largely a flop. It's dated like exact match domain names, just like the one towing.com that I generate millions off of. But hey, exact match domains, no big deal. Just throw them off. I offered to buy his exact match domains in a different post, but they're dated like exact match because they rely on Google for free traffic. Now there is something we need to talk about, is the free traffic from Google. Is that going to be important? I do agree with exact match domains. It's a pretty important piece, is getting traffic from Google. I think local domains actually don't have such a difficult piece with that. They don't require domain Google so much. So we'll talk about that. I have that in my notes a little bit to talk about. Keeping moving down the path here. And there you go. Okay, so that's the tweet, the thread that you'll find over on Twitter, which you can kind of jump in there as well into that conversation, which if you have a geo-domain, which I know lots of people do, lots of people have, say, Cincinnati towing or a specific location with an exact match keyword. I'm going to try to keep it down to just the geolocation. You own a city domain, you own a state domain, maybe even a country domain. What are you going to do with that to make money? That's what we're going to be out to do. And let me just pop over here and say, hey, Edward, nice to have you on here. As far as hot fix, he's let me know he is a guy. So thank you for that. I just like to kind of get it right by people as well. So, and T-Dye, thanks for being here. And we're probably not going to be talking about the SEO today, other than we will talk about a little bit of SEO. It just is inherent into exact match domains as well as geodomains. So I have, let me go to Skycam. I'll show you my hodgepodge of notes just for the fun of it. And I just want to show that I have Skycam up and running. But I have some notes. This is all the stuff I've tossed together over the course of like an hour. And I want to try to get through it. But the only thing is it's not really linear. So you're going to have to bear with me as I kind of grab my thoughts on these different pieces. Let's talk about some of the negatives of location-based domains. And here's this. When it comes to location domains, we can't rely on something that I rely on when it comes to exact match domains like towing.com. Exact match domains allow me to implement the strategy that I call local Legion 300. That is all I need to do is find one customer, one towing company, one pet groomer, my goodness, I'm running out of my domain. One photo, I'll see it on my, one photo booth company, one DJ. I need to find just one customer per each of the different top 300 cities in the United States, and I'll have my first 300 customers. That is using scarcity. Nowadays, if you're on Twitter and you're seeing a bunch of stuff about NFTs and such, scarcity is the big word. That's what a lot of people are talking about. And it's always been a piece of marketing. It's the idea of scarcity. Quantities are limited for a limited time. There's only one domain name. We talk about this quite a bit with domain names, and it applies for whether it's an exact match domain. You know, you can be the first one in your city to list under this, or maybe it's exclusive. You'll be the only one in Cincinnati listed for, towing on towing.com or whatever it is that you want to do. That scarcity adds a sense of urgency and allows you to fill those like first 300 spots or whatnot. So you can get to that baseline. What do you do with a geo-domain though? You have one location, not 300. You have one location, and instead of one location, you have 300 industries. That's pretty difficult. Are you really going to go and say, you can't go and say, okay, LA.com, we'll sell, you'll be the first and only Italian restaurant on LA.com if you sign, like you lose that scarcity quite a bit. There are ways that you can manufacture it. You can give maybe the first to sign up gets a special badge, special icon, some kind of award, those kinds of things. But you lose the scarcity factor, which is a pretty big deal, especially in how we market and start sites off. So what do we want to do? How can we overcome the fact that we can't do the local Legion 300 or really rely on scarcity like we do, like I do on exact match domain names? Well, I think the answer is one of the answers. There's lots of answers to these questions. I strongly think that location domains are good. Location allows you to concentrate on one geographic area. So that is a huge strength assuming you steer into it and use it. So what can you do in one location that you can't do if you're trying to do it global? You can't do, it becomes really cost prohibited to try to target an industry over an entire nation or something. It's just very, very expensive. But if you're talking about even a big city like LA, or in my case, a smaller city like Sharonville, now I only have to worry about my little block of the world. Targeting ads can be done on distance rather than based on topic. That's going to be one way that you can do it for cheaper. You can do, there's lots you can do with location. The ones I really wanted to mention, though, are the idea of now with a geo-domain. Let me try to boil this down. I want to get this clear to where maybe it can be tweetable. A geo-domain allows you to not need Google. Exact match, we need Google. Location-based domains it doesn't need Google as much because those local ones allow you to be more in touch in person with your customers. For example, I'm hoping this will track through a little bit linear. And by that, I mean to where one thing leads into another. Sorry, I live my brain a lot. Okay. So what does every small business kind of do when they get started? What do they end up doing quite a bit? I remember when I started, all of my stuff started off, I was a web design company and an SEO company. That's how I got started. I did SEO consulting, hundreds of dollars an hour to go help people rank their search engine, their websites, as well as we did website design. And I was kind of concentrating on local businesses, even though I had businesses around the US. The local businesses I was concentrating on, I was like, how can I reach these? So I did one of the things that many small businesses do, which is I joined the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce. How many out there, anybody else run a small business? Join the Chamber of Commerce is like the first thing you do. I don't know why we do it. It was a wasted couple $100 a year. I never went to any meetings, never really did anything. I just wanted to have like a plaque on my wall, I guess. I somehow had this idea that Chamber of Commerce was going to send me local customers, which is, they kind of act like they're going to do that. But we all get kind of duped into joining the Better Business Bureau and the local like Chamber of Commerce. And the thing is that doesn't generate business, but we get duped into doing it. Well, what could a geo-domain name do that the Chamber of Commerce does, which Chamber of Commerce is, once they're established, they probably have hundreds of members. They're all location-based, just like our domain name. They provide some group purchasing. In theory, they provide some networking to where you can get customers and stuff. Like, pointless. But what we can do is we can do it better, because we are going to do it not out of some nonprofit getting businesses together. We're going to do it for profit, which the funny thing about business is making money will motivate a lot of people to do more. So instead of that plaque on the wall being a pointless, hey, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, now we can try to get businesses to put a sticker on their door letting them know, hey, we're featured on LA.com. We're featured on Sharonville.com. And the question is, will that matter to local businesses? I'm sorry, will that matter to local visitors, the people that walk through their doors that use them? It matters a hell of a lot more than the Chamber of Commerce does. Right? I think it does. Feel free to disagree. I think you are going to get more business by letting people know you're on a location-based website, you're featured there, and then suddenly, what do? If you live in an area and you know that website provides a directory, a searchable database, a map that can help you find stuff, then maybe you'll check it out. Maybe not. But regardless, that business has a nice sticker that makes them look good to people passing through their doors or maybe on their website. So you got to use a badge. And that there can be one of that right there could be how you get a lot of your small business customers. Small business customers are who you're targeting. You're looking for small business customers. You're not looking for the whale. You're not going to go out to someone might buy la.com and they might say, I want to go and get these giant movie studios or these giant businesses to do some kind of sponsor. Forget the freaking big businesses. Big businesses are bad business. So many people want to chase them. Small businesses are quantity. Remember, in the local Legion 300, we want to get one in each of those 300 cities. Now, when it comes to, if you're trying to target one big business in each of those cities, like how does that even work? You got to go to the local companies, the small businesses in that area. So we are going to target small businesses. So let's start to look at some stats. Let's get us some data here. I actually did the search right here. And that is, how many small businesses are in Los Angeles? I'm going to use Los Angeles rather than Sharonville just because we're going to be able to get some easy data. There are, thank you, Google, there are more than 244,000 businesses in Los Angeles. Okay. So 250,000 businesses in Los Angeles. So the question is, how many of them are small businesses? Well, we can dive into what these small businesses are, what these businesses, because not all of them are small, but the majority of these businesses are going to be small mom and pop businesses. The people who detail your car, the people who wash your car, the people who work on your car, change your tires, do your oil changes, the people that clean your houses, clean your offices, take out your trash, that paint your house, do your roofs, plumb your plumbing, do your electric. All these small mom and pop businesses that most people, they want to go buy some $5 million domain name and figure out how to get these giant companies on board. Forget the giant companies, go for the small businesses, because you can help a lot of small businesses with their dreams and making their dreams come true with a great domain name. You're not going to let some faceless corporation, they're not going to be who you're actually going to be able to impact. So go for those small businesses, which now we know Los Angeles alone, 244,000, 250,000 basically small businesses. And you're like, yeah, but we don't know who they are. We don't know what industries they are. I want to dive into that a little bit. Let's go out the chat here. Coaster G saying, yeah, it's about time Skycam's back, which, yeah, I might dive into Skycam. I want to make sure I could draw on things. Yeah. So let me see here. Kevin's adding, they all need targeted traffic and eyeballs and backlinks. Yes. Backlinks, especially for search engine optimization. But I believe there's a strategy that we will get into, which is the user-generated content. I talk about this often, user-generated content. Even David Costello, he does with Nashville.com, Palm Springs and stuff. They curate content on their domain name. I hate creating content. I don't want to be a content creator. I think that that's the number one thing that most people do with these domains, create content, trying to generate SEO and traffic to sell stuff. I don't really know anything about the stuff. I don't know anything about towing. I don't know anything about photo booths or DJing. I'm like, the coolest thing about me is that I own DJs.com. Like, it's the truth. Like, there's nothing cool about me. I'm a business nerd that just likes doing this stuff. But you know who is cool? The DJs. The DJs are cool. You know who cares about Los Angeles? You know who cares about LA? People that live in LA, businesses in LA, they care about it. So who should be creating your content? Who should be writing the top 10 lists, the top 10 restaurants, or the top 10 auto repair places in Los Angeles, or Sharonville, or any city, Denver.com? Your visitors and the small businesses. Your members to your site, the people that pay you money and or your visitors should be creating your content. You should not be creating content. At most, you should be curating content, organizing it into reports, putting it out there to where the visitors see it, understand it, share it. Forget Google. If we do a good enough job, our users are going to share it. And they're going to share it with others, and they're going to be like, oh, look at this dude. He thinks that the best restaurant in Los Angeles is Jack's Noodles or something crazy. It's either pro or con, but regardless, they're talking about you. They're sharing it. People are sharing their opinions, and all things Los Angeles start to take place on your domain name. Google likes topical traffic. So how do we find out? Let me show you a little bit of a hack. Hopefully that little rant gave you some good stuff. User-generated content is how we do everything. It's how we do everything. That's the secret sauce. If I don't talk about it enough, it's because I kind of don't want to give away the secret sauce. The secret sauce is getting the users to provide you content. That's the secret sauce. Get your users to provide the content. Get your customers to provide the content. For the love of goodness, what do you think Twitter does? What do you read on Twitter? You read people's tweets. The users are creating the content. You go there to read it, interact with it. What do you do on Facebook? What do you do on any damn platform that's out there at all? That you are creating content. Others are creating content. And in most cases, that content has no purpose. It has no location. It has no topic. It's just whatever we want to talk about. Well, what if we use our domains, our exact match domain names, our location-based domain names, and start to take that content, give people an opportunity to share, just like they're already doing on social media, but now they're doing it on your domain name, on LA.com. You have everybody in LA just saying, hey, here's my top 5 restaurants, or I hate this place, I like this, whatever it is, but it's all topical to Los Angeles. Suddenly those users generate the content. You don't do anything but provide the technology that makes it happen. And then, of course, curating and policing a little bit of the content. But honestly, what we typically do is you have to be a customer. You have to be paying us some kind of monthly fee or something to be providing much content or getting much visibility for your content. So in that case, you just kick a customer off your platform if they're trying to do something shady. Anyhow, user-generated content, I'm a big fan. We don't add anything to towing.com back here. Or this other one here, this transport reviews. It has like 300,000 reviews and thousands of we don't add any of that stuff. We don't do that. The site updates almost every couple of minutes because somebody's adding something, not because we do anything. We just provide the way for those who are reviewing auto transporters. They post them on transport reviews. Life gives us clues, I guess. So here's the big hack. Here is how you can get all kinds of data, research your city, find what businesses to target, and go after them. I'm going to give you some keys. This is some, and it's all free. This is free. Okay. People pay lots of money, hundreds a month, if not thousands a month, to get access to what I'm going to show you. And this is all free. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to go out to my library, my local library. Anybody out there, hopefully you have a library card. They're there for free, and you might be thinking, well, Drew, I have a library, but there's a library around me. I can't blah, blah, blah. You don't even need to go to the library. If you're international, I'm not sure what your access possibilities are. There may be blocking based on country or something. But for me in the US, this is an option I know I have. And I can do this with most libraries throughout the US, although I just use my local one, which in this case is Midpoint. So on Midpoint, which is my library, most libraries have, and you can go to a larger city if you need to find something, they have e-resources and research databases. This is This is gold, peeps. This is so good. Like, this is a big deal. So under research databases, I look in up business databases, and there's one here that whatever the heck A to Z database is. I've looked through a few of these and found A to Z database, and I'm going to pull that up. And then, what I need to access. What do you need to access this? All you need to access this entire an entire database that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to access it typically would be thousands of dollars a month to access the database that we're about to access for free. So I'm just entering in my library card. All it is, my library card. In most cases, they send digital ones. You don't even need the physical library card. So hopefully it doesn't show it on the screen. I didn't check that. Okay, looks like I'm good. I don't want anybody out there hacking me. So here we go. So now I'm in. All I did was enter my library card, and now I'm into this. And you're like, okay, what's this? Why does this matter? Well, there's lots that you can do to this database. What they do is they've collected all that garbage data that goes out to all the states when people register for businesses and do all that paperwork for government stuff. They collect all that data, they put it in their database, and now we can search. Like, we can search based on all kinds of data that's hidden in their database. So a lot of it's public. It's just also difficult to get to. So let me just go to Los, if I can spell it right. Los, it's LOS, right? Yep, Los Angeles, California. And I'm just going to just say, hey, let's see how many businesses they have in the database for Los Angeles. And this isn't like Google now. So this isn't some random, there's 250,000. This is, if you see it up here, we have access to 118,000 businesses in this database. And you can see here, what are all, like, we have their addresses, phone numbers, all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to brute force spam the crap out of people, but what this allows us to do, especially right now, is research. So we know that we have access to 118,000. And then if we go back and revise our search, this is where we can really start to dive into what should we put on the website? What's going to make us money? What's going to generate revenue for us? Especially if we are not in a tourist area. If we're not in a tourist location where we can sell tickets in whatever it is that, I think David Costello shared that tickets are big, real estate are big on his websites, hotels and rentals, like all that. We might not have that available to us. So what else are we going to do? Well, we need to come out here and we can come and find businesses based on these here, SIC codes, which just Google it, or NAICS codes. Every business out there fits into a category. The government, for tax purposes and all that stuff, they group us into categories, and they say this is an auto repair company, this is a theater, this is an entertainment place. They categorize all the small businesses. Why does that matter? Because essentially, using the free access to a library, which you cannot publish the data and all that stuff as well. This is for an individual purpose, but it's great for you being able to do some research. You can now see how many businesses do certain things in that industry. And you can also do it based on keyword and business type, which, let me share this out because I'm going to just give you an example. I love car type stuff. We own detailer.com, steel reinforcement, auto. And hopefully you can see it depending on your screen. I'm typing in a keyword and it's searching through and finding various businesses with that keyword. So I'm searching for auto, home inspections or auto inspections, equipment supplies, auto machine shops, auto plate glass, all these different categories. These are all categories of businesses that are in here. Let me try to find one that is cleaning. Let's see. Let me try to find a local business that I believe we're going to have some pretty good access to cleaning compounds. Auto detail. And it's coming up with detail clean. Automobile. There we go. We'll go with that. So let's just see how many searches, if anything, we get from this. We're just going to search it out. So what we're looking for is, I'm currently looking, and of course, wait, here we go. It's still going. Okay. So auto detailers. How many auto detailers, the people that clean cars in the inside, you know, a couple $100 a pop, they're spread all over Los Angeles. How many of them are out there that we can advertise on losangeles.com or la.com? Well, according to this, there's 693, which I'm doing a funky search right now. It's probably not very accurate, but for the sake of time and such. And you can see here, boom, contact information. So let's say we wanted to add onto la.com a section of the best detailers, the best auto detailers in Los Angeles, which, you know, how we come up with those reviews, not sure. That's up to, I guess, our users, or maybe we ask them to do it. Or maybe we just come up with a directory, and it's based on, here's detailers around your area, because Los Angeles in that case is pretty big, or a comprehensive directory of all of them, and they can pay to be a featured company, and so on and so forth. 693 leads that we can look through, grab information. Looks like Stanley Steamer has a lot of them. So there you go. There's a library hack. So you can turn and get some real data instead of just like Google searching a bunch of stuff. But now we can use that, start to kind of figure out those categories. What categories could we put on the site? Which ones are going to be profitable? Well, back to Twitter. Somewhere on here, oh, I remember what it is. I shared out. Let me head back to, I guess I can share out what's going on here. So I typed in, I did this tweet here, and I asked David Costello brothers, kind of like, hey, what verticals? So verticals, we're just looking at what industries make the money that are not tourist attractions. Okay, these are going to be the what areas can we use for Sharonville.com, LA.com. So we're going straight to a great resource, right? We got David Costello. They've made millions and millions of dollars off their domain names, and we're asking them, and he gives us some good information down here, which is any city's going to have hotels, which if your city that you're trying to develop out does not have hotels, I could see that being an issue, right? You need to have hotels. Then activities and attractions, which, okay, activities, attractions. I'm from Cincinnati. I don't go to a Reds game, go to a Bengals game, not a ton that I know of. How do you find in any given city what attractions are there? Even if you live there. I've never been a tourist in my own town. I don't know what attractions necessarily are considered in Cincinnati. Well, here's the hack that I have for that. Here it is. So how can you know what the little tourist attractions are? What are those activities and attractions that people are looking for in your city or in the city of your domain name? Those hotels, go to a hotel, and what do they have in their lobby? Or maybe a Cracker Barrel, or what's the other ones? Some of those restaurants that are always next to the exit that people travel to. They always have those little cards that promote, and brochures that talk about the attractions in the area. Right in the hotel lobby, like, here they all are. Go, just collect 100 of them. So now you have potentially 100 different activities and attractions for your area. And what do we know about those people on those cards? They're already paying to advertise, right? They want people to come and find their attraction. And if you have the city domain name that represents them, you suddenly have all kinds of leads for the activities and attractions part of your website. We're thinking about, so how many of those can we get? I don't know. We'll get to the numbers a little later on as we try to justify LA.com for 5 million. Activities, restaurants, of course, restaurants. I mean, you think of restaurants, what is boring for you could be huge for visitors to your site. How many of us have done this? How many of us have, we've been sitting around, we're like, hey, what do you want to eat tonight? What do you want to do this weekend? You want to do something different. Here I am in Cincinnati, and we eat at the same places most of the time out of routine and out of simplicity, and I know what I want off the menu. But what if you, on your geo-domain name, answered the question of, what do you want to do different tonight? You just get some categories, and then you can build out different categories and allow the restaurants, allow those activities, allow visitors and people that live there or travel there to provide information answering the questions of things like, what's the best new restaurant in the area? You ask the question, you let everybody else answer it, you allow the visitors to answer it, and now, what's the best new restaurant in Cincinnati or in Sharonville or in Los Angeles or in East LA, or however you want to break up your different parts? Boom, now you have all this content and people sharing it and so on and so forth. You've done nothing but ask the question. And you've solved the debate that all of us guys have, that we all have with our spouses, which is, what do you want for dinner? What do you want to eat? And it goes back and forth. I don't want that. I want that, blah, blah, blah. So there you go. There's restaurants a little bit. Let me see. I'm not 100% sure what you're referring to here, Wayzata. What platform do you recommend to allow you to do for geodomains? If you're talking about developing, I will say on the tech side, you're pretty much looking at developing all this yourself. This is going to be custom development, or in that case, maybe WordPress type plugins or things like that. We build everything ourselves. I've learned to develop so I could do this stuff back when I was a one-man show. So depending on where you are in life, pull out that, start Googling, start learning coding, and go from there, or pony up the money to pay a developer. Let me see here. Lee's saying he's slightly behind, slacker. Where are some resources, data I've used before, and projects give vast amount of info around locations. Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. If you would, Lee, just toss them out on Twitter. So there you go, peeps. Make sure you, Twitter is a great resource, even if all you do is create an account just to read stuff. You don't have to post. You don't have to get involved in all the drama. And just, helpful information. So Lee, if you have the local research for how we can find information about areas, please share that out. I very much appreciate it. So going back over to David's tweet here, restaurants, shops. Yeah, absolutely, right? What do we want to know all the time? You're curious. I'm curious. I want to know what shops are opening, what's new out there. I want to shop local. I have this crazy radical theory that we actually want to support local businesses. We actually want to support small businesses. Shocker. Except for what's really difficult to do. Support local businesses. How do you find them? What do you do? Drive by the street? What do you do? Google, and they show you like 3 of the businesses that paid the most to be there? Like, the world needs you to develop geo-domain names so these small businesses that are out there have a freaking chance at getting your business, because we want to give them our business. We want to be able to support the local shops, these local artisans, and all these different people that put their dreams into the opportunity at a business, and then we never know about them. How do we find out about them? Word of mouth at best. They need a geo-domain name. They need an opportunity like a geo-domain name can provide them. Except for, I feel like a lot of people, what do we do with the geo-domain? We go after the big guys. Don't go after the big guys. Support the small businesses. Give them a way to use your domain name to get business. So there's little shops. We used to be down the street in Reading. Lots of little shops, primarily around the wedding industry. But these little mom and pop shops, like, it was amazing, like 1,000 square foot or less, and they sold dresses and different things. And then here's the big one as well. And this is actually one of the areas that I've focused on when I've thought about Sharonville.com is real estate. Real estate. Real estate is ripe and ready for you to develop your geo-domain with. And I'm not just talking real estate like houses for sale. Honestly, I'd avoid houses for sale. You can have an area where for sale by owner lists their property. But what I'm primarily looking at are the apartment rentals. As a guy that used to own a bunch of apartment rental units, finding tenants, a lot of times it's just done with a sign in the window. I don't post on apartments.com or really expensive sites. Like, why would I do that? I'm a little mom and pop landlord. I just need to find somebody in that local area. The local area, freaking geo-domain. It's perfect for real estate. Apartments for rent, shops and retail for rent, warehouse space, all it, like anything that anybody's looking for in that location around real estate, you can do it. And you might be thinking, well, there's other places out there that do it. Yeah, there are. And you can do it too. Like, there's no freaking rule that says you can't. And in fact, I'd say you could do it better than a lot of the big guys. I think it's like LoopNet or something like that does a lot of commercial. They do commercial real estate for sale and rent and stuff. In most cases, they are out of reach of a local landlord that wants to rent 4 units or 2 units or rent out their house or something like that. You would not be like, provide those local mom and pop small businesses an opportunity to pay you a small monthly fee to list their apartments for rent. $20, $40 a month is going to add up for you, especially when you spread it over 250,000 businesses. And let's say you get 1% of them. Okay, 2,500 businesses in LA. What can we do with 2,500? We'll look at that in a little bit. In Sharonville, what can I do with, maybe 100 different businesses if I can get them on the site? It was a $5,000 domain name or $4,000 domain name. If I'm making $5,000 a month off of just this kind of that's good money. And I'm helping small businesses. We need to develop our domain names for the sake of supporting these small businesses. I'm a big small business advocate, peeps. I've started one. I am one. I want to remain one. I think small business is better business. Okay. And let me see here. So beat the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce is nonprofit stuff. Do it for profit. Small businesses understand making money, and they want to support businesses that, like, you make me money, yes, I'm going to pay you money. You give me an opportunity at more business, I'm going to give you more business. It's exactly what we do with all of our businesses over and over. You can believe it or not, but my bank account says you should believe it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm just mostly here to say it's very much possible. Do the work and you can do it. I just want to toss out David is, at least somebody using his name, is over on YouTube, and he's saying, in 2021, you should only launch a geo-domain if you actually live in that city. I do actually agree with that. I think that's pretty good. I literally have talked to my wife about la.com. I would love to own it. I don't know. But one of the negatives that I've already talked about or thought about and discussed with her is I don't live there. And to be quite honest, I don't like LA. Ooh, that quote's going to see. I can't buy it now. I've already tainted it. But yeah, I don't like the city. I've only been there a couple times, and every time I'm like, why do I like this? There's so many other places I want to go in the world than LA. So yeah, there's money to be made, and it doesn't matter whether I like the place or not. Realistically, there's lots of small businesses there that are trying to make their dreams come true and would love la.com to give them an opportunity to make money. Here's one of the things. So I joined Chamber of Commerce when I started my web design company. Another thing I thought about doing, didn't do, but small businesses are always looking for a way to gain money or get exposure. And as a small business, we have no freaking clue what the heck we're doing when we start out. I was like, I'm going to wrap my car, and I got a car, and I was going to wrap it all up nice, like web design and this and that. God, I'm so glad I saved a couple $1,000s and didn't do that. I would have much rather just advertised on a good directory or something. Give them the opportunity. That's what we're out to do with it. So, damn the big head drop. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but yeah, And yeah, Austin, I think Austin had one that they tried to do. Maybe they sold it off. There's so much that can be done with these geo-domains. Here's another one. David Costello is adding that need to attend Chamber of Commerce, luncheons, and so on. Tell them you own the world. Yeah, exactly. Tell them like reach out to the chamber and be like, hey, you know what you're doing here, like representing the city. I do the same thing with my .com. Like yes. People want to advertise there, especially the Chamber of Commerce people. They're already getting involved in the community. We are essentially creating a for-profit version of that networking piece of Chamber of Commerce. There's lots of ways that you can create that community. Most people don't want to go schmooze with a bunch of other. I love business owners, but you get a lot of real estate agents and stuff like that at those places. So anyhow. I'm too much of an introvert. I like talking to you on the camera, not at a networking event. So let's dive into some numbers. What would you do? Like, is LA.com, ignore the investment of a 2-character domain name, which are just really valuable from a domain investor standpoint. Let's talk about LA.com, $5 million as a geo-domain. Like how is it worth it? Can we get the $5 million? I want to, within a year, 2 years, 3 years, get the $5 million a year on LA.com. That is what I'm out to do with any domain name I get. I want to be able to make that an annual reoccurring revenue. Reoccurring revenue, that's something I don't think I've quite mentioned. We want reoccurring revenue to be part of this. We want that foundational reoccurring revenue. I want to be able to pay for that domain name over the course of like up to 3 years, but we want to have that annual reoccurring revenue, $5 million over the course of 3 years. So can we do it? This is why I have Skycam back up and running. And look at this. Boom, my old TI-83. This thing goes back to high school, actually, my TI-83, just in case I get into the numbers. So I'll just put down the basics. I like to think and write $5 million, LA.com. Hopefully you can kind of see that. We're trying to justify that. Now, here's one of the ways that I'm looking at doing this, okay? LA.com, and yes, I'm literally typing this into my calculator because, heaven forbid, I do the math wrong. If we are looking at reoccurring customers, at Towing.com, transport reviews, well over 90% of everything we do revenue-wise is reoccurring revenue. I highly recommend, even if it means less, that you look at having as much reoccurring revenue as possible. Easier to maintain, easier to manage. People understand it. And businesses are usually, like, I have lots of little reoccurring revenue things. It's easier to do. Pursue reoccurring revenue. So essentially what I'm going to do here is if we want to try to break down $5 million, $5 million for LA.com, that would work out to, I'm going to just kind of, 400. So now we need to get to $416,000 per month. Can it be done? Can it be done, people? $416,000 a month on LA.com. That's how you're going to make $5 million a year. Okay. Well, let's find out. Let's find out. $416,000. Experience for my websites. A lot of times I will do the first 100 customers at $20 a month, but I typically try to get to $45 or $60 a month kind of as quickly as possible. If as an individual, you may be thinking, I don't want a bunch of $45, $60 subscriptions hit my account all the time. I get it. We're all price sensitive when it comes to our Netflix and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to a small business, you have to understand, we play a little bit of a different league. It takes money to make money. We have to pay out for marketing. can you justify to that person that you will bring $45 to $60 of value? I don't want to run $20 a month. To get, to get that and to get the 416,000, we would need over 20,000 customers at $20 a month to get to $416,000 a month. 20,833 customers paying us $20 a month. That kind of hurts my brain a little bit, to be quite honest. I don't want to mess with that. I want to look, I want to get into the $45, which, 45 is going to chop it more in half, or get into the $60 range. I love 60. So here's some of my pricing strategies. First 100 people usually get in at $20 a month membership. They keep that rate for as long as they're on the site. Then I will upgrade or move the price up to $45 per month. Then at $45 a month, kind of magic happens, because $45 a month ends up being right around, nearly exactly, $500 a year, right? So here's 45. I'm going to type it in the calculator. It's $540 for month to month, $540 for a year. Would a small business pay $540 over the course of a year to be on LA.com? I would say yes. Many of us have paid Chamber of Commerce's and different things hundreds of dollars just to be a member of something that really does very little for us. So $540 to be a web design company or search engine optimization consultant on LA.com. Are you freaking kidding me? And what else can we do for them? But wait, there's more. They get a LA.com email forward, so they can set up Drew's domains at LA.com, and it forwards to my Gmail. We can toss that in. That's included for $45 a month. They will also get their custom URL. So LA.com/Drew's domains, assuming it's available, will be my custom profile on that domain name. Now, my little company doesn't even need a website. It's right there on LA.com. $45 a month. Are you convinced? Would you be willing to do that for your small business? How about $60 a month? Would you be willing to do it for $60? $60 a month would be, should be at $720. I don't know why I'm still typing. It's $720 a year. $720 a year to get your web address, the tools necessary to customize your profile, email forward. Can you build that? And then is it worth it? LA.com. How sexy of an email address would it be if you live in LA to have my company at LA.com? I think it's pretty sexy. Then again, I love domains, but I love having great domains like Drew at and so on. So, but $720 for that identity of their business, that authority of being able to use that domain name. $720, I think you can do it. We're going to concentrate on the $45 a month level, which is $540 a year, or you can do the whole prepay for a year, pay for 11 months, get the 12th month free, which would be $495. So under $500 a year if you prepay for the year. So $45, how many customers? So typing stuff back in, rounding a little bit. So if you're following along with my math, don't at me, bro. So that is 45 a month is equal to 9,244. 9,244 customers. That's, I'm not going to lie, that's more customers than what I have on my other sites. I don't really like it all that much, but LA.com, can we get 9,000? It's going to be tough. But wait a second, 9,244 customers paying $45 a month. That's possible. But this isn't Sharonville.com. This isn't a local area with no tourism. In fact, this is LA. We can count on some tourism, right? We can count on some revenue from that. So what does that look like? I have no idea. You're going to have to ask David Costello, because realistically, I've never built out a tourist destination. So I don't know how to generate that revenue, but I think 9,000, over 9,000 customers for a geo-domain, that sounds intimidating. That sounds intimidating. Can I get that over the course of a couple years? I don't know. It would take a heck of a lot of marketing. So if you're going to have a challenge, if you're going to need a lot of marketing, that means you're going to need a team. Now you're raising your expenses for development and marketing. I'm not sure. It's going to take somebody coming in and doing it. Can you get 9,000 customers? Yes. We've already seen 250,000 businesses out there. Can you get, I don't know what that works out to being, but that's a very small percentage of those customers actually joining your service. Can you get, what is that? Is that less than, yeah, it's less than 1% of them to join as a $45 a month member. You're probably gonna have to play with it. You're probably gonna have a staggered system, some $20 customers, some $45 customers, then some upgraded people that pay you $99 or $199 a month or something like that. You can absolutely do it. But as I mentioned to Brian, though, it's going to require more work. It's going to require some work. I prefer the exact match domains for that reason. I don't want to do the work necessary to market each of these different niches, because I'm not just going out to a towing convention. I'm not just going to a towing convention and talking to a bunch of towers all at once. I have to go to each individual industry and start to convince a dozen here, a dozen there, up to 9,000. For that reason, I don't know. I don't think LA.com would be the domain name for me based on a $5 million price tag. Is it absolutely worth it? Yes. I think I hear $5 million. I think it's worth it for this business model, the reoccurring base. The 9,000 customers sounds intimidating to me. I don't know. How about you? You know, how about David? Like, David, you're going to pony up the 5 mil? I would love the opportunity to try, but I can tell you right now, if I was to do a $5 million transaction, it would overtake my life, and it would have to be successful. And I don't like that. So, okay. So we decided Drew's not going to buy LA.com. I think my wife is applause. She's clapping. She's happy to know that that's off the table. So from my simple development standpoint, it's going to be hard to generate the 5 million. If you see a path to 9,244 customers paying you $45 a month, then that's awesome. I would be a happy customer. If I lived in LA, ran this exact same business that I even do right now, I'd pay $45 a month, especially just for an LA email address and to be part of that community. And heck, Mighty Networks. You ever heard of Mighty Networks? Or Tribe, same thing. You can Google it, but Mighty Networks and Tribe, they both allow you to create essentially a Facebook type community hosted on your domain. So you can have community.la.com, just run it on a Mighty Network, and now all your members can interact with each other. This is something we've looked at for our companies as well. So you can kind of do that. That would be something that you can include into it. Getting the 9,000, that sounds intimidating to me. Sounds like a lot more work than what I care to do as of this point in my life. But if you're out there, who knows? Or if you need somebody to help you put together all this stuff I'm talking about, then maybe we can help. So, non-tourist domain name. Let's pump it back to like a Sharonville.com. The other question that we had to talk about, I don't think I was able to justify the LA.com 5 million. The domain name is easily worth it, but for our simplified business model, I struggled to get there. The other question I was trying to look at is, can a non-tourism based city domain generate a good revenue? So again, it kind of comes back to that question of what do we consider profitable? I mean, profit is just like, you know, what are your expenses? What are you looking for out of this? I still believe 100% they can be But for me, the profit would need to be, we'd need to generate. We've ran the numbers. We think that we could run ShareInville.com at $100,000 to $200,000 a year in revenue. For us, that's a pretty low project. It's not something we're really pursuing all that much. We will maybe someday develop it out, but for now, it still gets stuck on the back burner. We have other projects we need to spend our time on. So with that said, I know like it can. Brian, it can. If you have a good geo-domain out there, as David said, ideally you live in that city. We should have Peter on. Peter has some good experience. He owned a city domain, went to the Chamber of Commerce, and eventually they ended up buying it from him. But he has some good stories about that. Taurus first. I don't know if I've answered that question for you. With same thing, build out the what are the things that people in a location, what do you need to run your daily life? Shop directory, boom. Restaurants, new restaurants especially. Let me mention something on the restaurants and shop front. And this comes from Andrew Rosner. He talked about this on a Domain Sherpa, which I love, and that was which domainsherpa.com is a domain program podcast as well. Check it out. He talked about he used to, when he had a city domain name, he would have the businesses, instead of paying a membership to join, they would send in like a gift card, or like maybe if it's $200 a year or $500 a year or something, they send in like $10, $50 gift cards. And that was their membership fee. And the way that his website got paid was when he would sell those gift cards or auction them off. So people would be able to come to ShareInville.com, get a $50 gift card for some Mexican restaurant, just kind of making up the restaurant, but $50 gift card, and they could pay $40 for it or something. The restaurant gets a customer, the customer gets a deal, and then the website got paid. They know it worked because the gift card sold. You could set something like that up. I love that business model. Great for a solopreneur, just a one-person operation that kind of runs it. That Brian could be the model that you go with. It's not as reoccurring revenue, but maybe that's what you allow them to do their first year or something like that. And then you just sell those gift cards that they donated to you, they gave you to sell, and those gift cards are how they pay their way. But you only make your money when somebody comes to the site to buy that gift card and so on. So I love that business model. We shared that on a Domain Sherpa. I journaled it and always said, if I ever do ShareInville.com, I'll have to figure out a way to work that in there. So great stuff, Andrew. Well, I figured we'd go overboard on our time. We're well over hour 14 as of this point. I don't want to go too terribly much longer. If you're still here with me, make sure that you have subscribed over on YouTube. You should absolutely do that. Like the video, comment, in the comments if you're watching this on Restream, as well as make sure you're following me over on Twitter. And if you subscribe as well, later on this week, I will try to grab an hour to look through expired domain names. That's something I usually do on this show each week, is look through expired domains and talk about businesses that we can build on them. There are some great domains this week. Unfortunately for time, I wanted to talk about the topic rather than dive into the expired domains. So make sure you subscribed and or follow me over on Twitter to see when I go live to look at expired domains this week. Otherwise, I'll catch you next week on that Monday. So David's also adding. David, thank you so much, by the way. Thank you all for your comments and questions. But David, I especially appreciate you coming on for this great topic and chatting with us. No matter what town or city it is, you want to target those who are going to visit and or relocation there. That's always where the money is. Don't target locals. I don't know. I kind like your customers. Like you may not target locals. David, I don't know, man. I'm struggling with that one. I think that for the most part, you definitely target the local businesses. I think that you can target locals. I think you absolutely can. And I think especially if it's non-tourism, you would have to target you would have to target locals, because you can't count on the tourism. And like here in Sharonville, yes, there's a small convention center. Yes, there's half a dozen hotels, but realistically, locals. It's the convention center is used by local type businesses for their local. It's all local for the most part. Tourists in their own town type stuff. I think there's economies that you can get with it, but yes, on your domains especially, you can kick some butt with not targeting locals. I think that one of the things that we have to determine is how we can target locals. I think there's a lot that can happen. Any pain point that you have as a local in your own city, what are the pain points? What are we going to eat tonight? What are we going to do this weekend? What new is happening as far as like entertainment venues and things, events, as far as like Google sucks at this. Most places suck at this, but what events are going on? What would I be interested in doing? If you could figure out that whole event thing to where events can add and there you go, local in your own town, but then also those tourist things as well. So thank you for joining me. I will continue this conversation over on Twitter as well as in the comments of the chat, but I do want to get off here because I got stuff to do. It's a holiday, but I also got some work to do. So thanks for joining me, talking about geo-domain names, la.com, $5 million. Check out Media Options, who's selling it. Good luck to the both buyer and seller of that domain name. Very great 2-character domain name. And then for all of you out there who own a geo-domain name, develop it for those small businesses. I kind of told you, like, lots of small businesses out there would love the opportunity to be on your geo-domain name to, have an advantage over all the people or all those bigger businesses that do get to, ride the coattails of Google and Expedia and all the travel. Like, you can really help a lot of small businesses out. So do it. Do your geo-domain. I believe in you. Have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you next week, 3 p.m. I'm Drew Walsh's Domain to Profit. Take care.